Hello and welcome. We are back with yet another series. It's the Australian Tour of India three-match T20I series. Today is the pre-match show of the first T20 between these two rivals. I'm your host, Dawini Basu. India and Australia will face each other for a three-match T20 series. Both the teams would be eager to make a sound beginning to the series that is viewed as a precursor and a dress rehearsal to the upcoming World Cup T20 to be held in Australia next month. And I take this opportunity to welcome our very distinguished guest, the very popular Joydeep Mukherjee. Thank you so much, Joyda. The fresh update comes as I allow you to put forward your thoughts is that Australia have won the toss and elected to bowl first in this first T20I. So, Joyda, first things first, your thoughts on the toss and Aaron Finch's decision.
Yeah, I think there must be something in the pitch. You and I haven't seen the pitch. There must be something in the pitch. And generally, whatever happens in the beginning of the game. Now, unless the wicket is too dry, where it's not going to just hold up, that's the only time we see teams wanting to bowl second. But they want to bowl first because they have a target in mind. Whatever little bit of juice there is in the pitch, it's in Mohali. Generally, ball can seam around over there. Depends how much of grass there is. So everything put together, I think it's an important toss because it's an important game. It's an important bilateral series for both the teams because India is not the only one with the worries. I mean, India has had a not so good Asia Cup, so they need to get a house in order. So does Australia. They're here without a couple of their players. Finch's form is an issue. Smith's strike rate is an issue. Three of the main players are missing. Tim David is making his debut, which is great news. I have to shout out here for Prantik, one of our very own in Rev Sports. He's been always raving about this guy. It just goes to show how good an eye Prantik has, because even before I'd heard of Tim David in a proper way, Prantik always spoke about him, and he's played all over the world, and he's plied his trade in different T20 version, and he's made his place over here. There are some guys in the Australian team who haven't met him ever, besides well played after the game. So there'll be a lot of them who'll be getting to know him from close quarters. So what's a great story? There are many ways of playing for your country, and this is one of them.
And Joyda, if I can ask you to, place your thoughts a bit more about this toss and Aaron Finch's decision, because in T20I since 2018 on this ground, the chasing team has won 7 out of 11 matches at this ground. So,
Yeah.
is Aaron Finch having this
Yeah.
thinking back in the back of his mind?
Surely so. Because there could be a couple of factors. There could be a little bit of dew at the back end, which they want the Indian bowlers to struggle with a slightly wet ball. It could be the fact that they just want runs on the board. It could well be that they just feel that this Indian batting has been under the pump, and we'll try and put them under pressure. We'll have our bowlers go at them full throttle because there are some players who are making a comeback into the 11 for India. Even the bowling unit, Bumrah coming back, a lot of these guys coming back. So you'll have to see that this is a time when India is slightly vulnerable and Australia really want to catch them. The toss becomes important if there is something in the pitch, which I think there is. Second is if the dew factor is there, and third is you always want the target in your vision when you go out to bat. Harshal Patel also on his comeback series. So when you come back after an injury, as we found out from KL Rahul, sometimes it's not easy to hit the strap straight away. It takes you a while. So KL, it has taken them a while, as we have seen. He went to Zimbabwe, had a quiet series, came here, not as good as his by his high standards. So for the bowlers, it's slightly easier because you don't get out. You still are in the park. You can still get to bowl those 24 balls. But it'll be interesting to see how Bumrah and Harshal bowl. I'm very keen to see those two bowl because they are both coming out of some time away from cricket.
Absolutely. And we are yet to get an update on the playing 11s of both the teams. So, Joyda, if I can, ask you to place your thoughts a bit more on one question I'll be placing you, and that is that post the 2021 T20 World Cup, India have played a total of 29 T20Is, whilst their rivals tonight, Australia, have played just 9. With this record, both these teams are heading into this series. So would you say that Team India are a bit better prepared than Australia?
Yeah, for sure. The more you play, the better you get. But sometimes the more you play, the more questions that come out as well. So getting the right balance is very important. You don't want to play too much. You don't want to play too little. I think India might have just about got it right, or maybe played a little bit too much. On the other hand, Australia, I think, are way well below what they wanted to play. But they're the reigning champions. They're the ones who got the trophy. So when you've got the trophy, you can get away with a lot of things. And this might be one of them. Maybe they're super confident. Maybe they feel that they play this version really well. Also, Damin, is very very interesting how some teams
Yeah.
prepare differently. Like an Indian team might want to play 25
Hmm.
matches. Like an
Hmm.
Australian team might want to say 10, 12 is fine for us. But it's very individual as a team. Like
Yes. Yes.
some batters bat for hours the day before the match. Some batters don't touch a bat. Surya Kumar
Hmm.
Yadav doesn't touch his bat the day before the game. So
Yes.
everybody has their own ways of preparing. He's one of the hardest workers. He'll work like mad till one day before the game, and then just the day before the game, he will not bat in the nets. So every team, every individual has their own way that works for them, and they found that out as a group. And I think that's what both the teams are following.
Absolutely. And we finally have an update on the playing 11s of both the teams. If I can take this opportunity to read it out. With Australia winning the toss first, let's have the playing 11. Here it goes. Australia, Aaron Finch, captain, Cameron Green, Stephen Smith, Glenn Maxwell, Josh Inglis, Tim David makes his debut, Matthew Wade, wicketkeeper, Pat Cummins, Nathan Ellis, Adam Zampa and Josh Hazelwood. That's the playing 11 for Australia tonight. And for India, the playing 11 goes as follows: Rohit Sharma, captain. KL Rahul, Virat Kohli, Surya Kumar Yadav, Hardik Pandya, Dinesh Karthik, wicketkeeper, Akshar Patel, Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, Harshal Patel, Umesh Yadav, and Yuzvendra Chahal. That's the playing 11 of India, and hence the playing 11 of both the teams. Joyda, what do you make of it?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one. Umesh Yadav back in the squad. We know that Bumrah is pulled up. And, I think from the batting point of view, I really like this team. I know we are missing a left-hander because Pant is not playing. We don't, with Akshar coming, we've got one left-hander with Jadeja going away. Ideally, we should have had one more left-hander, 3, 4, 5. But that hasn't happened for us. We've played many a combination. It hasn't worked for us. So if you look at the top three, and then, 4 Surya, 5 Hardik, 6 Dinesh, 7 Aksar. That gives me a lot of strength. Yes, Rishabh is missing out, but he'll have to wait for his chances because they've given him a slightly longer run, and they also probably want to give Dinesh Karthik a certain number of games before they decide who they're going to play in that first game against Pakistan and Australia.
Absolutely. And one player I would once again request you to, talk about a lot, who right now is finally among the runs, our very own Virat Kohli from India. The Virat Kohli we are also used to, we are also eagerly wanted to see. He's back right now, and let's take a look at his records against Australia. That Virat Kohli's 718 runs, he has amassed 718 runs against Australia, and that amount of runs are the most by any player against an opposition in men's T20Is. Virat Kohli was India's best batter in T20Is. A big example was the just concluded Asia Cup. Just keeping aside India's journey, Virat Kohli was the standout performer. So, Joyda, how important will Virat Kohli's performance be in this series? More so because, let's take this as a build up to the upcoming World Cup.
Virat Kohli has been our best player for the past 10 years, period. Okay?
Absolutely.
Overall, over 3 formats, there's no two opinions about it. There's no argument, there's nothing, period, done. QED. That being said, yes, I feel that last 100 he got will give him a lot of confidence. Not for the 100, but because of the way he got the runs. I was very surprised and pleasantly so at the way he was playing the shots, the sort of shots he was playing. Sometimes you get runs, you get some hard runs, dirty runs, for lack of a better word, but you get the runs. Sometimes runs flow from your bat, and that was one occasion when Virat was looking on song. Virat was looking the old Virat, and that's the only time in the last maybe couple of years that I've seen him bat in that rhythm. And I'm just hoping and praying that he's now got it together. I have a feeling if he gets a decent start, often, it's all about the start. Who's bowling to you? What's the wicket doing? What position India are in? everything put together. But if he gets a decent start, so if India are 30 for no loss and he comes in after 4 overs or 5 overs and he gets into his groove, magic can happen.
We do hope our Virat Kohli, continues with his form now. We hope he has found his form again. He doesn't have to get back to the horrors of this lean patch that he was facing. Now, let's talk about another player who's finally back into the squad, whom we wanted a lot and missed a lot probably in the just concluded Asia Cup, and that is Jaspreet Bhumra. Jaspreet Bhumra has, dismissed Glenn Maxwell 7 times in 15 meetings in T20s. So, I would request you to talk a bit about this personal battle. I will, take this opportunity to also welcome Nishant Jeet Arora, who has just joined our show. Thank you so much, Nishant, for joining. Joyda, before I get into your personal matchups, both of you, what do you feel of this rivalry between Bhumra and Glenn Maxwell?
Unfortunately, Bumrah is missing out because there was a bit of an issue. That's why I think Umesh Yadav is coming.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
in general, that's a great battle. See, one of the best bowlers against one of the best batters. Morning, Nishant.
Morning, Joyda. Morning, Damini.
So, it's one of the best bowlers who can change a game against one of the best batters who can change a game. And it's bound to be a matchup there because there are two people who can change the course of a game with their skill set. One with the ball, one with the bat. So, okay, when you have two players, such explosive players, two players with such potential, you're bound to, somebody's going to crack and somebody's going to fire. That's just the way this game goes. It'd be interesting to see how many times he got him out, but how many times he got him out for less than 20 would be a better stat. If he's got him out for a 35 ball 72, that battle Maxwell has won. Okay? So sometimes it's not about getting him out, but how many times has he successfully got him out at a reasonably low score? If you get my point.
Absolutely, very clearly. And speaking about Glenn Maxwell, unfortunately, Jaspreet Bhumra misses out on this game. Umesh Yadav gets the opportunity. Nishant, Glenn Maxwell, against India has been very useful for Australia. He has his last record was 113 he was unbeaten on 113 of 55 deliveries way back in February 27, 2019. That was in Bengaluru. And he happens to be the only Australian batsman to have 100 against India in T20s on Australian soil. So how crucial will Glenn Maxwell be, for Australia against this Indian side, provided India does boast of a very, very good bowling lineup?
First and foremost, thank you for having me, Joyda, Damini. Good morning. Sorry, I was a bit late. I got confused with the time zones. I'm really sorry for that. Yeah. So,
No trouble.
Talking about Glenn Maxwell, if you look at Glenn Maxwell, why will someone like Glenn Maxwell will be in the team? This is a question, and the answer to that is that he's an impact player. He may not be consistent as you would expect someone like Virat Kohli to be, or David Warner to be, or Steve Smith to be. But the day he will play, he will just single-handedly win the match. He's that kind of a player. So Glenn Maxwell will be always very, very critical for Australia. He will always be very critical. And talking about his record against India, especially on this ground, one must not forget that he has played a lot of cricket for Kings 11 Punjab. So he knows a thing or two about the PCA stadium and the pitch over there, which I always believe because I have spent all my childhood on that ground. So I know a little bit about that ground. So it's a bit of a nostalgia for me. The match is happening in Mohali and I'm sitting in Vancouver. So I'm feeling there's a major FOMO in me right now. So I think someone like Glenn Maxwell, it will be very, very important for India to not give him a start. And we have seen that early on, if you use spinners against him, there is a chance you might get him. And I think the moment we will see Glenn Maxwell walking into the stadium, you will see Indian captain calling for a spinner. So something like that has happened so often. So let's see how this battle goes. But I think it will be Glenn Maxwell against Indian spinners.
And one of them, I can recall Yuzvendra Chahal has been very successful against Glenn Maxwell on multiple occasions. One question I would like both of you gentlemen to place your thoughts, and that is the form of Aaron Finch, the captain of Australia. Australia's captain Aaron Finch's recent form seems to be, among a very big concern. Then there's Stephen Smith's middle strike rate has also raised a lot too many eyebrows and questions, about his placement in the playing 11. Then right now, Australia are without their major trio of Mitchell Starc, Mitchell Marsh, and Marcus Stoinis, the three M's. So, and David Warner has been rested. So, what would you say that right now Australia are keen on experimenting with their backup options, like allowing Tim David to make his debut first, Joyada, then Nishant?
No, I think Tim David would have made his debut even if these guys were there. That's how good he is. But they are depleted. Australia are depleted. Those three M's you spoke about, all rounders, all can bat and bowl, impact players. They can change the course of a game and at different positions. One is an all rounder. One bats top order. One bats in the middle. One is the captain of the Test team. He can do with bat with ball. So these guys are very very good players that they're missing out on. David Warner, another guy resting, so that's another match winner. So obviously this is probably a good chance for India to roll this team over, because once those four guys come in, it's a different team altogether. And for India to win this series, they'll have to play well. I know this is the team without four of their big players, but they run deep. They play the Big Bash well. They've got a very large pool of players they can pick from, and that is a reason why India will start off favourites, only because Australia is not at full strength for me. But there won't be no pushovers for sure.
Nishant?
I think Tim David. I slightly disagree with Joyda, because I think when you have someone like Mitch Marsh coming in team, David Warner coming in team, uh, how will he find a place in the team will entirely depend on how he fares in the next 8 games, which Australia has before the World Cup. They are playing against India right now, then they will go back and play against West Indies, and then they will have few games against England. So in that case, if he and all we all know the kind of talent he is, there's no doubt about it. He is made to play 2020 cricket. Uh, but right now, it's a blessing in disguise for him that these three, uh, you know, Mitch Marsh, David Warner, uh, these players are absolute certainties in the Australian playing 11, in the first playing 11. And it will be interesting to see if Tim David does well. How will they find place for him? So he's an absolutely destructive player. And everyone is like, I was speaking to some of my journalist friends in Australia, and they are so looking forward to him wearing that Aussie t-shirt and playing for the Australia. So that will be a great opportunity for someone like him to you know to prove his talent or at that level. But I don't think that he would be, if you ask Australian selectors today, that he would be an absolute certainty in the 11 for the World Cup. I don't think so. It will depend on how he does well how he does in these 8 games, and if he does well, then it will be a very interesting selection for Australia to how to make place for him, and that will be really interesting. So it is very exciting to see someone like Tim David in Australian team playing in India. He has played IPL also. He knows a thing or two about the conditions here. So it's and I'm really looking forward to the Tim David's exploits today.
Everybody's looking forward to Team David, and we all know, our team knows that there is somebody sitting in Singapore who will have his eyes glued. So Prantik, we do hope, yes, there's Joyda's victory dance, the joy dance. So Prantik, please have a blast. Your
And what
Tim
a
David is
story!
making his debut.
What a
Yeah,
story! A guy from
yeah,
Singapore, not from the Australian system. They
yeah.
have a very good system in place as well. They produce their players from the junior levels. Their state cricket is very sorted. Now, here's a guy from Singapore, has made his name playing his trade in all the T20s all over the world, and is made into the Australian cricket team. This is how dreams come true.
Absolutely.
That's a huge effort from him. I mean, to
Yes.
get into an Australian cricket team is no mean a task, and he is not from the system. Just by his performance, just by his range of runs and strokes and just country to country. I was just looking at some of his stats, mind-boggling. Strike rate hasn't dropped below 140 in any of the leagues he plays in. The averages of between 27 and 39, which is phenomenal when you're batting at 6 and 7, by the way, because you only get to play about 10, 12, 15, 20 balls. So
Absolutely.
for somebody with a strike rate of 145, 150, 160, tournament to tournament, bowler to bowler, series to series, surface to surface, country to country, easier said than done.
Absolutely. And before we go into this live match, a very interesting and nice, sweet gesture happened today. And that was, let's have a discussion on the stands at PCA Stadium being named after, you know, according to me, my yesteryear legends whom I've grown up watching, Harbhajan Singh and Yuvraj Singh, the Singhs, the popular Punjabi Singhs. So, Joyda and Nishant, what do you
Yeah,
think of
let
this
me
move by
let me answer
PCA?
this first because Nishant is going to get teary-eyed and emotional talking about this. Let me just get by this one. It is his ground. He has a lot of memories there. He's from that part of India, so I know exactly where he's coming from. But it's such great news to hear that players of this repute are getting, all over the world when I go to these stadiums and I see how well they have honored the players of the past. It's the hair stands up in the back of my neck because that's how good these guys are. They're gone, but some have left this world. If you go to Lords, if you go to Oval, some of them are not in this world anymore. But 17 wicket hauls, hundreds, double hundreds, triple hundreds. So that's how you live in the memories. And for me, I couldn't be happier. These two have been great servants of Indian cricket, and this is the least that the board, all of us, the PCA could have done for them.
Nishant.
As Dada has rightly mentioned, I have very fond memories of this ground, and I have very fond memories of this ground with these two gentlemen. Playing junior cricket in Punjab, and while we were growing up, and I have seen. I'll tell you a very interesting story. When I was playing cricket in Punjab, I was 14-year-old or 13-year-old. I went back to Agra, where my hometown, and I told my mom, I said, I don't know how much cricket I will play, but we have two guys who will play for India very soon. And one is Yuvraj Singh and one is Harbhajan Singh. Because you could see, like for me, the first reality check in life that God is not fair, he doesn't distribute everything equally to everyone, was when I saw Yuvraj Singh batting. I realized, oh my God, there is a difference between how we play and how this guy plays. And same with Harbhajan. Like, he was almost unplayable at that level. At under seven, at that age, he played for India at the age of 17 and a half or something like that. So it just shows the kind of talent they were and the years of cricket they have served, both World Cup winners, 2007 and 2011. Yuvraj Singh also has an under 19 World Cup to his name, 1999, and he was man of the tournament of that World Cup. So all that. And I personally feel, as Joyda was mentioning, that it's very important to name stands on the name of these players. It's extremely important. Just imagine
And
Shubman
it's
Gill.
happening in India.
Yeah,
It's
it is.
good to
And it
see.
is.
In the
It's such a
last
good
10,
thing.
12 years, if you go to Eden Gardens, if you go to Firozshah Kotla, it's good to
Yes.
see. But 15 years back, it was hardly there.
Like, just imagine Anjum Chopra gate at DDCA and an 11-year or a 12-year-old girl walking in with a kit bag into that stadium, and she sees the name, and then she will ask someone that who was Anjum Chopra, and then she will be told that Anjum Chopra was the first diva of Indian women cricket, and the kind of inspiration she will get from there. And same
Yeah.
with someone like Shubman Gill or Abhishek Sharma, when they will see that there is a stand on the name of Yuvraj Singh and Harbhajan Singh, they will say, I want my name there. I
Yeah.
have to do that much, that my name should be right next to Yuvraj Singh. That's the inspiration.
If India
That
team plays well, we're going to have a lot more gates in there, a lot more stands. The
yeah,
stands
you
are going
should
to get bigger because more people are going to come in.
so when you leave, when Harbhajan Singh and Yuvraj Singh are there, and they will, like Dada was saying, that when you go to Oval, you see a lot of people who are not even there. 100 years down the line, 200 years down the line, that stadium will still be there. That stand will still be there. So their legacy is etched in stone now. And that's how you reward your heroes.
Yeah.
And Punjab is
So,
lucky to have these two young men. Or someone like Bishan Singh Bedi. I wish at some stage there's a name, Bishan Singh Bedi. He was the first Punjab player to captain India.
Absolutely. And gentlemen, we are moments away from the commencement of this opener between these two rivals. So let's have matchups and your player of the match. Jayda.
matchups for me, the Indian fast bowlers Umesh and Harshal coming back after playing after a long time against the Australian batters. That's my matchup.
Okay.
And I'm going with Surya for today. I'm back now. It's the World Cup time. We're preparing for the World Cup, and I've gone back to my play.
Okay.
Sky.
Nishant.
I have been lucky to witness one of the greatest T20 knocks by Virat Kohli from the ground against Australia at this ground in 2015 T20 World Cup. It was a do and die game for India, and India had almost lost it. And Virat Kohli, as you would say about Maharaja Ranjit Singh Ji great, that he never played a Christian shot. Virat Kohli didn't play a single bad shot, a single T20 slog, and won that game for India. It was a
I remember
sublime
that game.
innings. It was a sublime innings. And the kind of form Virat Kohli is in. And if you look at the stats, Virat Kohli has most amount of runs against Australia in T20, around 700 plus or something like that.
718.
Yeah, so I am going with Virat Kohli. Mohali is the ground he loves. He loves that ground. उसके अंदर से ना उसका वो पंजाबी बाहर आ जाता है मोहाली जाके. So Punjabi songs, he's like he feasts on Punjabi songs, Sufi Punjabi songs mostly. And when he reaches Punjab, he has a soul connection with Punjab. So I think it will be my matchup would be Virat Kohli against Australian bowlers.
So we have our matchups, we have our player of the match. So, and with this, we come to the end with our discussions on the pre-match show of the Australian Tour of India, first T20I between India and Australia. Ladies and gentlemen, you are hearing my panelists, Jaideep Mukherjee and Nishant Jeet Arora. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for sharing your thoughts, and enjoy a good game of cricket. And let's meet in the post-match show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.